So you want to captain the USS Salmon? Well, do you like fish? Do you like being the center of attention? And do you like being depth charged by everything on the map? Well then, the Salmon is for you. Now, for once, it's kind of shocking that I actually have some history to talk about because this did exist. So the Salmon was the lead of her class of submarine. She was laid down on April 15th, 1936 and was launched June 12th, 1937. Whenever war broke out, she did a lot of patrolling in the Philippines, and she did 11 operations where she was either attacking convoys or doing recon for basically military strategies, but it just wasn't a lot going on, I'm not gonna lie. She has some patrols here and there, like her 5th patrol was probably exciting, but her last patrol is the truly most exciting. The 11th patrol was a war patrol, which was conducted by a company of other submarines, including the Tigger. So basically, it was a coordinated attack so that they could attack a large tanker just to hurt the Japanese with the fuel supply. So they were able to eventually sink this tanker, but on their way out, basically they had some escorts that were basically depth charging like crazy, and then the Salmon got hurt so bad or took so much damage that she had to surface and fight her way out. She was able to basically escape, but there was just a lot of depth charges on her and a few small caliber hits from enemy vessels, and she somehow limped away, and basically after that she was pretty much abandoned. She did get a repair, but then the war was over, and then she was decommissioned and was scrapped on April 4th, 1946. So unlike a lot of her sister ships that were able to kind of be a museum in some way, shape, or form, this ship was not lucky enough to do that. But in the end, she did receive the President Unit Citation for extraordinary heroism against enemy surface vessels on her 11th patrol, and also earned 9 battle stars for World War II in the Pacific area. So, still pretty impressive, but what is she like in-game? Well, in-game, she is basically the opposite of the U-190, or 190? I don't know, what do you want to say? You know, the German one. So basically what that means is she has access to conventional torpedoes, and then of course she has homing torpedoes. So your conventional torpedoes are going to be doing a lot more damage and cause more flooding, and they're a lot better than what the Germans get. Shocker. But the Germans have better homing torpedoes, so it's kind of pick your poison here. You do have a better hydrophone, so that's better than the Germans' ones. You also have some 4 aft torpedoes, so just keep that in mind. You got really fast speed for whatever reason, because in real life you only had 9 kilometers whenever you went underneath the surface. In this game you have 30. Like, logic, whatever, goes out the window. Gameplay is the most better possible way of going around this. Some downsides is basically, once again, your sonar reload, your homing torpedo performance are worse than the U-190, but you know, it's gonna be pick your poison. Would you rather do more conventional torpedoes, or are you gonna be more on the surface and periscope depth and are able to use your normal torpedoes, or do you need to use your homing torpedoes? It's gonna be kind of each situation to their own type of thing. And then the other thing that's kind of weird about this is you only reload 2 torpedoes at a time for both the forward and aft, because 2 are going to be basically going to be your conventional torpedoes, and then 2 are going to be your homing torpedoes. So it's a little weird, but you know, 42 seconds, I'm okay with waiting 42 seconds to just keep constantly firing torpedoes. But with that being said, what should you be kind of looking out for? What should you be doing? What's your goal? Well, the easiest thing is at the beginning of the game, you have the best detection ability, or let me rephrase that. You're very hard to detect, so you can kind of hang out around the caps, be able to spot most things. That's kind of the goal. A lot of captains either like to be in the cap or right next to it. Don't know why, because that just allows you to be depth charge from either the airplanes or from destroyers and everything under the sun. So it's going to be kind of what you feel like you're best at. Me personally, I don't want to be in the cap circle because I feel like that's just a death zone. So I will be playing more outside, kind of be like where I know there's channels that I can escape from. That's the biggest thing, is because you want to use your diving ability to escape. Granted, you do have, depending on your configuration, you could potentially have like 3 minutes of being safe under the water, so that's always nice. But once again, it's going to be up to you on how you want to play this ship. Me personally, I like to be more of a spotter at the beginning and then pick my targets as the game goes on. You can pick and choose how you want to do, because you can play subs however you want to play subs. It's going to be really dependent on the game and what you're going against. If you see a lot of destroyers, it's going to be harder. And of course, some battleships have ridiculous amount of depth charges, so you have to keep aware of that. But you are super fast on this ship, both underwater and on the surface, so use that to your ability to get around the map, be able to spot your targets where you need to spot them, and do what you need to do. It's gonna depend on, once again, your map and who you're going against, but for the most part, you can easily just kind of stay close to the surface or on the surface. Once again, the whole entire gameplay of subs have changed over the years, so it's kind of weird. So me personally, I'm gonna use more conventional torpedoes because I'm a destroyer main, so that's where I'm coming from. Every once in a while, whenever I know I can get away with homing torpedoes, I will use them. And what I mean by get away with is basically that destroyer, battleship, or whatever cruiser, whatever I'm going against, is preoccupied with something else. They're either engaged with somebody else or facing the opposite direction of me. That's whenever I can use my homing, because they probably aren't going to pay attention to whenever my homing goes off. So that's what I like to do. Once again, it's going to be up to you and what you want to do with your captain. Me personally, I like the conventional torpedoes because 1, they do a lot more damage. 2, it doesn't give your position away. But 3, the only downside of that is you do have to get a little bit closer. And of course, you have to be a little bit more reliant on people going in straight lines, which is still a thing. You'd be surprised. People don't really change their course. So it's going to be up to you on how you want to do it, but that's how I play this game. Hopefully this kind of gives you a little bit of insight of what you want to do. And then let us talk about the captain skills or the commander skills. So this will be on screen for you right now, but I like to go with the liquidator. Everybody gets a flood. It always helps with 30% of causing more floods, even with your hydros. You wanted to improve your battery capacity. Lordy, you need to improve your battery capacity because you don't get a reserve battery unit in this ship, so that really sucks. So that's what I like to do. The next tier, tier 3, it's going to be up to you. I think basically watchful is probably a little bit more helpful for me. I feel like I don't use every single consumable. Granted, it just depends on how long you make it in the game. It's just gonna depend on if you need more consumables or not. If you feel like you make it through games longer with subs, then yes, probably use your consumable. But I feel like the watchful perk gives me more advantage throughout the whole entire game. And then finally, what I think think most people want to do is probably the enlarged propeller shaft. That's just me. While 50% of your maximum capacity, you can basically be faster. That's where, once again, I'm going to be closer to the surface. You could do a adrenaline rush, but I feel like you're in a sub and you are pushing the limit. By what I mean by that is because usually subs don't have a lot of health. So yes, you could use that ability. It would be great, but at the same time, I feel like with a sub, you're pretty much dead. Once you get targeted, you're usually pretty dead. So I would rather be faster and get away from my situation than, potentially tanking stuff. So that's just me. Let me know in the comment section what you guys believe in. And with that being said, One more thing I'll go over is kind of like the upgrades. If you want to do the upgrades, it's going to be to each their own. If you plan on keeping the ship or not. So what I usually do is I do probably your sonar modification. Just makes life a little bit easier to ping people. Damage control, that's basically just reducing your damage and just getting everything less fires. Fires are awful with this ship. And then next I will do basically the torpedo tubes modification 1, just to basically have better torpedoes. Helps me out immensely, especially just, speed. You want speed on firing them. And then, the submarine steer gearing modification 2 and 3 just helps out immensely because you do kind of have a crappy rudder shift time, so this just helps you out immensely trying to get out of dodge. So that's what I use that for. So let me know down in the comment section of what you want to see next, and hopefully you enjoyed this. Thanks. Bye-bye.